Hello, I'm Cody Stores, and I am doing this video for Dr. Eggleston's class. And this video is over school financing. Um, to begin, this bill has to go with House Bill and Senate Bill 3 from the Texas government over school finance reform. And so basically, just a quick rundown of the content of House Bill 3 is that it is a huge, massive reform on how we work through our school districts. It rewards teachers, it gives them raises, and it gives them raises based off of their teaching excellence. It prioritizes learning opportunities and improves education from pre-K all the way through the college level. And that's pretty impressive, and that's a really good thing to see, that our education system is moving towards including everybody and not just a narrow window. As well as it is increasing our funding and equity, and at the same time, while increasing our school funding and school spending, the bill also claims that it reduces property tax collections, which is true. And it's actually increasing that funding and spending by $11.6 billion. And that is a whole lot of money, and hopefully Texas has a great plan for it, and I will touch into that later. And so really, just how every bill becomes law. This was something Governor Abbott had made an emergency item. This had to be something that he wanted to fix and wanted to get something done about it. So this was something early on, and that's why it's House Bill 3. That's why it needed to get done. There were many amendments changed. It was passed around from committee to committee, and finally, once Democrats and Republicans kind of got together about where they could set the tax rate and how they thought they could make it work, it finally got passed, and then Governor Abbott signed it into law on June 11th of 2019 to come into effect pretty relatively quickly. Now, the question for this video is, do I think House Bill 3 is going to help hurt typical Texans? And honestly, that's a hard question. It's not just a simple answer. I think it'll do both. I do think for the short time being, because it's not just House Bill 3 that we're looking at. It kind of connects with House Bill 2 with our property tax reform, like I was saying earlier in the content. I do think it's a good short-term fix, because we're putting more money into our schools. They're going to be able to reach out, help our education system hopefully grow. But at the same time, if we're spending more on our school financing, but we're cutting back on property taxes, those two don't go together. Remember that property taxes don't go to the state, they go to our local governments, they go to our school districts, and that's how we fund them. So if Texans are paying less, then how are we letting schools pay more? This could be a problem that comes down later on in our future generations, because the problem that could arise is that local governments start having a shortage of money if we don't have a fix later on down the road. And like I said, this is a good short-term fix, but we also have to think 30, 40, 50 years down. We can't do this forever. It's just temporary. So if Texas wants it to be 30, 40, 50 years down the road, they have to find another revenue of money. They cannot just solely rely on lowering property taxes and increasing our school spending and having this big gap. There has to be another revenue of money come in that Texas has to find somewhere. They have to pick it up. And obviously, if they don't, this bill will probably get amended, changed, or even scratched and thrown away eventually on later down the road. Sorry, just trying to collect my thoughts. So the way that it's getting decreased, the property taxes is that normally schools could have a tax rate up to 8%, which is what Democrats like. They like it high. They like people to pay their money, so that way the school districts have more money to spend. But now that the Republicans introduced this bill, they have finally negotiated down to where school districts cannot tax without a public vote. It cannot be over 2.5%. So we're going from 8 to 2.5%, and that is a humongous jump. Now, again, on the short term, it's saving Texans money by not having to pay a very, very high property tax that we have, one of the highest in the nations. Yet later on down the road, local governments are going to run out of money, school districts are going to run out of money, especially at this rate that they are spending. and it could be a problem. I thought an easier solution would be to just probably amend the or to amend the Texas Constitution, have more of a Robin Hood plan, because this House Bill 3 is taking away of the Robin Hood plan. It's actually decreasing it. It's making it where we're not taking money away from rich school district to help pay for poor. And of course, I might not be the typical Texan. I like to flip that. I would like to think that rich school districts could help out, but they could make the argument that it's hard that we're closing that gap of lower education up to where they're getting more of the middle, but teachers are now teaching towards the middle rather than getting our smarter kids smart. And so this bill helps get our smarter kids increased into our education while bringing the lower ones up, which is a good thing. I also see this could also be a problem by this is giving teachers incentives. Now, as much as teachers need raises and how much we like this, teacher incentives could be a problem because teachers will be teaching towards the test. They're not going to be teaching life skills. They're not going to be teaching like basic knowledge, street smart, really. They're going to be teaching solely book smart, so that way they can get the best grades possible. And good grades are a good thing, don't get me wrong, but you can't miss the little details of life. So we'll see how the Texas government rolls with it. I think it's a good short-term fix, but over the long run, there has to be something else done down the road. Otherwise, we could see big problems arise. And thank you very much for watching.